Congratulations on completing Module 1. Welcome to Module 2. And now we're going to get into the business side of things. The first module was really to get you used to Canvas, getting you plugged in, getting you comfortable. Now we're going to start the learning here. On this screen here, you'll see the different learning outcomes that we will have after you complete this module. You will learn these 4 outcomes here. And this is a great beginner chapter for business because we get to define some very key terms, some fundamentals of business that we need to know that will translate into future chapters. The main one to start, you'll notice when you go to the textbook here, that it starts telling you, well, what is a business in the first place, right? This is introduction to business. What is a business? And there's two primary types of businesses. There's not-for-profit businesses and for-profit businesses. Usually when people say businesses, they mean for-profit businesses. And these are businesses where their goal is to make money. I'm going to take one that most of us should know, is Apple Computers. And I know that because I've surveyed my classes in the past. Most people use an iPhone. Most people have a MacBook or MacBook Air or something like that. So Apple Computers is a for-profit company. Their primary goal is to generate revenue through selling goods and services. See how I did that? They do sell goods and services. The good they sell is the iPhone, the MacBook. It's a physical computer that you have to manufacture. Now, services, you may not think about Apple as a service company, but they do have services. They have iTunes. They have the Genius Bar, fixing services. They have also cloud storage. That's software. That's a service. That's not a physical product. So they do both. The other part to that's a for-profit business. Some only sell goods, some only sell services. Apple Computers does both. You can do any number of those variations. Now, not-for-profit companies are companies that don't necessarily operate in order to make a profit. Maybe their objective is to make the world a better place or to help those in need. One company that comes to mind is the Red Cross. The American Red Cross, their goal is to help those in need. They still generate money through fundraising and contributions, but what they do to that money is they don't give it out to their shareholders. They're not there to make a profit. They're there to have a bigger impact on society and those in need. So you can see the two contrasting differences there in businesses just right off the bat. We'll then jump into, what is risk? It's risky running a business, right? What is profit? We saw there that some businesses seek profit, some businesses do not. We then jump into economics and the difference between micro and macroeconomics. I'm not going to speak a lot to that on this video. I just don't have enough time. We will be learning that in the activities this week and in your reading. One diagram I would like to illustrate is this one here. Business does not run on its own. There's so many internal and external factors happening all at once. You may have remembered in 2008, 2009, we had the financial crisis. That affected businesses across the entire world. It was much harder to get money. Consumers started spending less money. Customers started spending less money. The political landscape was changing. Politics. The economy was changing. Technology was still changing quite a bit. I mean, e-commerce, we had the dot-com bubble back in 2000. We were kind of getting out of it, and then we had this financial recession. So that kind of changed, again, how technology was implemented. It says global over here because a lot of what happened in the United States affected China. It affected Brazil. It affected major markets around the world. Then we have competition. You have some companies going out of business, some companies going into business that are competing with you. And then you have the internal, which are like your customers are changing, the workforce is changing, managers are changing, entrepreneurship is changing. And so business is this living, breathing thing that's always changing. They say, if you could predict the future, you'd be a millionaire, right? And that is the truth because it's very hard to predict what the future will bring us. But we could see historical data and we can see different environmental factors that may change or shift the future of business. And if there's anything we know, It is that business is always moving and changing. And so looking at history and looking at what's to come, we can make good decisions moving forward. Here's the last image I would like to leave you with, which is capitalism versus socialism versus communism. And these by no means are the only systems you can choose. There's lots of systems in between. There's kind of mix and match systems. You'll notice the United States isn't all the way on the far right of this chart because we have a lot of social programs in the United States. What I would say, historically speaking, you listen to a Warren Buffett or a lot of these tycoons, they will say that the single greatest thing in United States history is capitalism, is the idea to own land, the idea that an entrepreneur can start a business and hire people and grow that business and make business decisions on their own without having government interference. But that only goes so far. You see the negatives of that as well, which are some companies will underpay their workers or pollute or do things that maybe aren't good for the general population and just good for their business. Is that good? And I'm not saying it's one capitalism is right or wrong. I'm saying that like most things, they have their pros and their cons. And so you'll notice on this graph, like I mentioned, in the United States, we have a lot of social programs. We have a minimum wage. We have retirement benefits, Social Security. These are social programs that we've implemented to protect workers and to have government come in and give these programs to help people. Now, the completely opposite of capitalism, though, is sometimes referred to as communism. There's other names as well, planned systems. But you take, for example, North Korea, the government owns a lot of the land. They don't allow it to be owned by the people. The government may tell businesses what products or services to produce. A lot of the decision and the planning comes directly from the government versus the people, the entrepreneur in that case. So you'll notice here, there's a couple different ways that you can set up an economic system. And so look at this here. Look at this graph here, and you'll notice many of these countries have very good GDP, gross domestic product, which is how much products and services you produce in any given year. And so there is no one right answer that this is the economic system that works. What you can take away from this is that there are many different systems, and different systems have worked at different time periods for different populations, for different geographic areas. But but to my point earlier, there are pros and cons to each type of system. Please continue to read on into the chapter, and I'll be joining you in the discussion where we can talk further about some of these concepts.